Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Here we have Vintage from the first ELD Vintage here at ELD's Time Ball Games. And Ollie is starting out with Mana Crypt, Basic Island, Time Walk, winning the role there. Ollie, a veteran of the game, knows to always be playing the odds with those die rolls. And it looks like a Tundra. Into Salvagers, so the Bomberman himself has shown up. We'll see if Max is able to get him off the board. Does provide a slightly faster clock than the Mana Crypt on the other side. Max not doing a whole lot here. Full of volcanic islands. Misstep and Armagoyf here off of Mox Emerald. And strip mining the Tundra. So growing Goyf a bit, which gets Swords to Plowshares. Max 3 cards in hand, considering the value. And he does Mental Misstep. I think if you are sleeving up Goyf, then you probably need to be misstepping Swords to Plowshares. That seems like a reasonable thing to be doing. Of course, there are more powerful targets on the other side, things like Ancestral, but if you're going to be winning with Goyf every turn that he's not on board is a problem. That is gross. So we've just seen an Engineered Explosives come down and clear the board, and that can be recurred indefinitely here. Life from the Loam getting Strip Mine back. And Ancestral being fired off. Ollie keeping things restrained here. I believe it was a Mental Misstep that hit that. Ancestral. No, Force Pitching Force, I guess. Ollie continuing the beats here. And Dak Fade-In is a tremendous draw. I was just going to say that Engineered Explosives could be played at 0 as a way to get rid of the Mana Crypt. Kind of do some shenanigans, blow up your board, rebuild, picking up the other artifacts. And Dak instead being used to plus. Draw 2, discard 2. And Engineered Explosives takes Dak out. So here we go. A bunch of 0 casting cost artifacts on Ollie's side. We'll see if this Mana Crypt ends up being an issue. Explosives has that Goyf's number, however. Need 1 more mana. And that looks like a Monastery Swiftspear. That is pretty graphic. Bolt on the Swiftspear. Now he could have returned the... I guess he could not have because he's bottlenecked on white mana. I was going to say returning that. Oh, and he gets KO'd by his own Mana Crypt. So it was, maybe it was possible to get a Engineered Explosives in there at some point. Clear that Mana Crypt. But the Mana Crypt ended up taking Ollie out. Proved to be a faster clock than the Salvager was on the other side, so that is brutal. Mana Crypt not played in control decks for a very long time. I was really kind of the dawn of the Psychotog decks post the GAT era, when you had Intuition, AK, and Deep Analysis as the engine. You were able to draw a ton of cards, Cunning Wish, Berserk the Tog, and around that time is when you started to see full power. Twister actually wasn't played back then in stock lists, but you had all 5 Moxes, Lotus, Mana Crypt, and Soul Ring in the control decks again, and you were able to convert that card advantage into a mana advantage on board as well as you were drawing more and more cards. And the deck had plenty of use for colorless mana, but that was able to just finish the game out quickly. Now, Bomberman can as well. I'm definitely not saying it shouldn't run Mana Crypt, but it is an actual consideration, you know, in a game like that with that time walk on the first turn. Even playing a little bit slower likely would have given Ollie the win, but it's very difficult to know. And of course, it does look very bad when you have the ability to take an extra turn and you don't, and your opponent instead ends up blowing you out. So all in all, just all trade-offs there. And in the end, Mana Crypt got him. See what Ollie can do here. Probably hoping for a very similar draw. Early salvagers. Of course, adding in Lotus to the mix would be very welcome. For those unfamiliar with the Bomberman combo, that Auriok Salvagers combos with Black Lotus in Vintage to create infinite mana. There is a version in Legacy where you can use Lion's Eye Diamond, though not hugely popular. Discarding your hand is a bit of a drawback compared to Lotus, which is just all upside. And scrying and keeping, we've got Preordain into Ponder, keeping the Ponder, so everything's staying pat so far. Ollie looking to sculpt Ponder, looking down Pyrostatic Pillar, Brainstorm, and Brainstorm is being fired off in response to the Ponder. Looks like a Null Rod on the other side of the table, a very real threat versus Ollie's deck. Or a very solid answer, perhaps. I suppose it doesn't actually win the game on its own. However, it does shut off all of the mana and the combo for Ollie. Excuse me. And I'm not sure. Two-mana card. I'm not sure what it is. We'll see if this becomes clear as this game goes on. Got a new camera here, so working on all sorts of improvements. Be getting better lighting for future events as well. Camera does have a much higher resolution potential, and Trinket Mage is going to be able to likely grab Engineered Explosives to answer our mystery card. Oh no, it grabs Lotus. Okay. And Lotus gets a Monastery Mentor. So Mentor just kind of hanging out. Pyrostatic Pillar, so let the damage begin on both sides. This is not really ideal. It does slow down to a degree this Mentor. There's an Explosives at 2. So Pyrostatic Pillar, chipping away at Ollie's life total. He'll likely just answer. And that is some type of new disenchant. I actually saw that in the Legacy video I just did commentary on. It's some type of disenchant seal. Let me know in the comments. That is one that I haven't played against yet. Or if I have, it has not been relevant. Ollie with just a massive board presence here. Multiple monks, Trinket Mage. We may be looking at the end of the game on his very next turn if there's not an answer. Another Seal of Disenchant, some sort. And we've got a Preordain, seeing a Swords to Plowshares. That's probably good enough. Just Swords the Sick Monk. That'll be enough triggers. So Ollie pulling ahead. I'm sorry, tying things up 1-1 here. Yeah, let me know what the name of that card is. It's some type of disenchant effect from the newer sets. Seems to be a bit of a role player. It's been used in both Legacy and Vintage here now. I believe it's the same card. It played the same way, and I was just as baffled both times. All right, so Ollie here, going to be on the draw. Max, hate and bears, he's calling his list. Not actually hate bears. These are big old bears. Talking about goifs and see what else he has for threats. But he's got some fatties along with cards like Pyrostatic Pillar and Null Rod, and he's essentially just trying to throw some bombs, having some cards that can work very well on their own without having to rely on too much in the way of synergy, just chipping away at your opponent's life total one chunk at a time. Goif can get pretty big. We have Chalice at 0. It is restricted. And that is a tremendous answer to Ollie's general strategy. We'll see if he's got a way of removing that. Oh, no. That's brutal. Oh, look at that. So he's got the Chalice at 0 to stop the artifacts, and instead it's like, how about I just play Soul Ring into Sensei's top? Wow, that is probably worst case scenario here for Max. Thought he wasn't going to have to deal with the acceleration and the just goes the other way. Just brutal. Sensei's top really threatens to create a ton of card advantage or card quality over time. Oh, and it looks like a Null Rod coming down. So look at that. He's got both answers. Okay. All right. So this is very swingy, back and forth. That Null Rod stopping any further value from the top. The top basically just got to rearrange the top 3. And a Goif. And that's going to get mana drained. Now let's see what Ollie can do with this 2 mana. He'll have up to 5 mana. No other accelerants really likely aside from potentially Tolarian Academy. And we start out with Ancestral. Very good. So 2 colorless still floating. Max's hand down to just 2 cards, which are apparently not going to be relevant here because they were not thrown at the Ancestral. Ollie's got to feel like the shields are totally down. Ancestral is resolving. That's probably one of the easier cards to contest. Misstep, Force, Misdirection. There's so many cards that'll hit it. More mana available for Ollie. He could jam a Salvagers here. See what he's got. Fragmentize, hitting the Null Rod. And now he has top activation. And looks like Walking Ballista. So that Null Rod, problematic in so many ways. Bomberman, the new edition of Walking Ballista, I don't think I've actually seen Ollie playing the list since that came out. The thing to note there is Trinket Mage pulls everything together now. It gets your Lotus and it gets your Walking Ballista. And Walking Ballista is much better on its own than many of the other cards that they've used in that slot. Things like Pyrite Spellbomb, for example, which is only really particularly useful in very narrow metagames or where or when you're comboing off Force of Will, firing off on that Fragmentize, trying to keep that Chalice around. And Dak has stolen that Soul Ring. See what happens here. Another Disenchant effect. Walking Ballista's not going to be able to take this one down right away. See if Max decides to use, or if he takes the damage. No, he's just going to keep taking the damage. Mana Crypt on top. Ollie a little gun shy about that card, most likely. Sending again. And there's the Salvagers. Oh no, there's a Soulfire Grandmaster. Oh, it's like a commander card. That guy, you can pay 4 mana and copy a instant or sorcery, essentially. Yeah, I believe you can take infinite turns with them. Probably the best case scenario, but really anything you hit would be some nice value. Dak Faden. Is showing up here. And it looks like he's attempting to steal the Walking Ballista. Ballista is being used in response to ping Max. And Dak. Okay, so Ponder here. No copy. Look up Soulfire Grandmaster here. So the instants and sorceries you control have lifelink, and 2 a blue/red, blue/red. The next time you cast an instant or sorcery from your hand this turn, put that card into your hand instead of your graveyard as it resolves. So it actually doesn't copy it, it just returns it to your hand. So yeah, that will definitely work with Time Walk or 4 mana to tack on buyback to your instants and sorceries. And a Tempest Disenchant, taking out the Chalice of the Void. Finally, that card had hung around for quite some time. But Ollie's starting to really pull away here. Sensei's Top just... I do not blame Max for needing to read that card at all. Sensei's Top creating a significant advantage here. And there's Trinket Mage, which gets Pyroblasted, which gets misstepped. All right. Little firefight there. Lotus is online here. This is looking like very well may just come down to 2-2 beats. Time Walk from Max. Runs it out. Just cycling it. Left with just a couple of artifacts in hand. Looking grim. There's 1 or 2 turns left here for Max. 4 damage on board. Realistically, we've got 2 turns. There's a Wasteland. Fetch lands are blanks at this point. No shuffling gonna happen, and Force of Will off the top does not help. So Ollie taking it down with Bomberman. With just some 2-2 beats. Sometimes that's the way you got to do it. That's all for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please help grow the channel by subscribing. You'll be notified when we upload new videos like Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic with commentary, or Untapped, our raw tournament gameplay. Thanks for watching.